Hi there, you're in for a treat, but I just wanted you to know that everyone on Patreon got access to this episode early. In fact, not only early access, but an extended podcast interview. Sounds awesome, right? Well, you can check that out and more before anybody else on Spotify, YouTube, before the public by becoming one of my patrons at patreon.com/Josiah's Voice, linked in the description box, where you'll also find links to follow the podcast. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Threads, and I have a blog, All Our Josiah B. Writes. That's at Josiah B. Writes on Instagram and Threads, and josiahbwrites.wordpress.com. Thank you to all my patrons who support me. And with that, let's jump into this new episode. Thanks so much. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode, Josiah's Voice, the film podcast. Really excited to introduce you to my new guest today. We're doing something just a little bit different. This is obviously a video podcast. This time we're talking about the connection, the collaboration, the nuances of filmmaking with podcasting, actually, and how it can be of benefit to you. You'll definitely want to stick around to learn about how could podcasting serve my film career in a variety of different ways. Here's some really amazing things about today's guests. They have almost 20 years in the industry producing award-winning unscripted projects at Westbrook Entertainment, that's founded by the Smith family, Will Smith. At the Westbrook Entertainment, Fallon, that's our guest today. Fallon oversaw the podcast division and served as an executive producer on programs like Positively Gam, Let's Red Table That, obviously Red Table Talk, which is Webby-nominated, a Webby-nominated podcast, by the way, and Navigating Narcissism, okay? So again, if you want to know what most people get wrong about podcast production, you need to stick around because my guest, Fallon Jethroe, she's got some gems for you. So with that, let's introduce you guys to Fallon. Fallon, welcome. Hey.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Josiah, for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
You're so welcome. Thank you again for taking the time, making the time to jump on the podcast with me and share your lessons, share your expertise with me and for all the viewers. Thank you to Tony P., founder of Queens of Production, for connecting us. If you've been following the podcast, Tony P. and Queens of Production was just a few episodes ago. As I understand it, Queens of Production and your company, Hello Fallon, co-produce also the show Culture Couture. Do I have that right?
Yeah, so Tony and I produce a podcast called Culture Couture Podcast. And how Tony and I got connected is Tony used to be my associate producer on the lovely reality TV documentary series Bring It. And so we got connected there. And then Tony and I have stayed friends ever since, based out here in Los Angeles. And we decided to produce a podcast together called Culture Couture Podcast. So check it out. It's on all podcast platforms.
That's awesome. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Dive right on in. How did you get involved in podcast producing?
Yeah, so I got involved in podcast producing, honestly, really just through the pandemic. So, predominantly, as you mentioned in my intro, I have experience in reality TV, producing reality TV shows. My first reality TV show was America's Next Top Model. Yep, I produced cycles 14 through 20. I started in New York City, and at the height of at the beginning of podcasting, actually, not even at the height, at the beginning of podcasting, it was
Wow.
probably America's Next Top Model, Survivor, and American Idol. Like it was us.
The
And
heyday.
exactly, it was the heyday of reality TV. And so back to your question, just to answer it, is I got into reality TV, excuse me, into podcasting is because the studios were shut down during the pandemic. And I connected with a producer and manager who happened to work over at Westbrook. And she said, "Hey, Jada Pinkett Smith and her mom, Gammy, they wanted to do a podcast. And I think you'd be great for it." And so I said, "Yeah, I think I can figure that out." That's honestly how I broke into podcasting is I use my transferable skills as a reality TV producer and I produced the podcast of Positively Gam, as you mentioned, and I was number two hired to help develop Westbrook's podcast slate.
Wow. What's one lesson in addition to the transferable skills? That's great. That's something
Yeah,
I myself live by as best I can. What's an
right.
additional lesson you learned from working on Red Table Talk and working with Westbrook in general, actually?
Yeah, and so just to clarify, I don't work on Red Table Talk, the TV show. So when Josiah's mentioning it, I work on Red Table Talk, the podcast. So what we did was we stripped the audio from the television show and we turned it into a podcast. Yep. And that's also too a good point and useful is nowadays as people have a lot of content, you can do so many things with it. Not only could we have made that a podcast, we could have also made that a blog and taken the audio from it and then put it on a Substack or Beehive. So like there were so many things that we could do with that podcast. So sorry, what was your original question? I've got off on a tangent, but like I just wanted to call that out to people who have since you are producing a podcast for people who are in the entertainment industry is to let them know that you have content that you could be used in so
Exactly.
many different ways. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. In fact, I've heard
Yeah.
people say, no, thank you for clarifying that. Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Of
Um,
course.
a lot of people don't know that sometimes, depending on what stage of creation of your project, you might be
Yeah.
sitting on a gold mine of stuff of previous, maybe you created some doodles or some painting or a
Yes.
podcast or
Yes.
vlogs, road trip photos, whatever the case may be. There's a lot of free platforms. You mentioned Substack. I have a Substack. There's Beehive,
Yeah.
other
Oh,
newsletter software, and things like that. That's just free tools that you can use. People use Instagram to be
yeah.
doing blogging. Queens of Production does a lot of, as I understood, early podcasting with live
Yes.
IG talks before launching,
Yes.
quote
Yes.
unquote, a proper podcast, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Queens of Production still does live talks every week just on Tony's Instagram, Queens of Production. Follow it. It's a great platform for, industry conversations to learn more about people who are doing jobs in the industry. And I say that is because when I started and went to school for this, is that like I went to school for theater. I went to school for acting, and that's in front of the camera. But I had quickly realized I didn't want to be in front of the camera. I
Wow.
really wanted
Okay.
to be the maker, the puppet master of creating what the actors and theater and musical theater kids were doing on stage and I interned at a casting agency and I interned at Late Night with Conan O'Brien and I interned at Focus Features and PR and figured out that there were other roles that could still keep me in the industry and also be prestige because people know the names of producers and directors and that's what people don't even realize is like
Yeah.
guys there are so many other roles than just being in front of the camera.
Yes, absolutely. A lot of people, I know you're the face of the project when you're the
Right.
actor. I get it, but there's a lot going on. From behind the scenes. It's like it's the root work, if you use a tree metaphor. It's what's being done in the dark that makes everything come to light. Like there's a lot of discussion. You remind me of I hope I say his wife's name, Zinzi. I hope Zinzi Kugler, Ryan Coogler's
Oh
wife,
yes, uh-huh,
as a
yes, Ryan
producer,
Coogler's wife,
like yourself,
exactly.
there she's been getting. I read she doesn't
Yes,
like being in the spotlight as much. I think they both share that. They just love the art,
they
but
both share that,
they both
yeah.
share that. But she's been getting her flowers and do spotlight her and the rest of their team at Proximity and whatnot to show, hey guys, what's done in the dark in a positive way in this sense is responsible for so many things that you've enjoyed from Proximity, from Ryan Coogler's productions, to just see here's what we've learned during this, who's here, who we're working with here, there. I love that you said that. That it's just there's so much going on, guys, that you don't know, that either a gold mine you're sitting on or also
Yeah.
learning that, oh well, maybe I'm not an actor or something like that. Maybe I'm a
Right,
producer. Maybe I'm a
right.
writer. And maybe that's where you shine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And maybe you're an editor. And now you see it even today. Platforms like yourself that you highlight people who are behind the scenes. We can still talk about our projects and be front facing. I could be
Yes.
on the Today Show tomorrow and be talking about my project. So that's what I like, is the representation that producers can get booked on these prestigious networks and be the ones that are front facing talking about their own projects, and not just having to rely on the actors or the people who were in the project who were actually on screen.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
Why did you create your company, Hello Fallon Entertainment, and what does it
Yeah.
specialize in?
Yeah, thank you so much for asking that. I mean, I created, honestly, Hello Fallon Entertainment is because really I always wanted to be a talent manager. And I
Okay.
had I had always really wanted to be a talent manager. And honestly, my career had taken a different trajectory of, like I said, being on set, that I didn't ever get a chance to like work in the mailroom. I actually had someone tell me like, you don't want to work in the mailroom because you really don't want to compete with the white Jewish kids, and they're not really gonna, value you the same. And so I was like, okay. And at the time, I was making a little bit more money than what the mailroom was. Um, and so, yeah, and I'm living in New York City at the time, and so like I have to
Wow.
survive, and
Word. Yeah.
so. Yeah, I was making probably like a good $300 a day as like a PA at the time, or 950 because I moved up very quickly as a field coordinator on America's Next Top Model a week. That was like so much more than what I was getting to like work in the mailroom. So I started my company is because I was working with Gammy on Positively Gam, and she didn't have a team, and she asked me would I be her manager, and I honestly was, well, actually I asked her. I was like, I want to manage you. I'm good about putting myself out there. So I said, hey, I want to manage you. And I needed to be official in that capacity, managing someone of level of her caliber. And so I created an LLC called Hello Fallon Entertainment. I have a social, so please all check that out.
Hmm.
And I started my talent management company and a podcast production company. And really, it's a creative producing company that we can help you produce and ideate your ideas. And create full productions behind that and take it from the paper into like building it of what you see today. And I did that is because one, I was tired of giving away the good ideas for free. And so
Respect.
that's why, yeah. And I say free, but like, yes, I was getting paid to be at those companies, but really I had solid ideas where once I do the idea and I get paid, I'm not getting any percentage of that. Like you see reruns of a lot of the reality shows that I work
Yeah.
on. America's Next Top Model is now on Netflix. Top Chef that I worked on, it's still on Bravo that they're showing reruns. I'm not getting any residuals. We don't get residuals as reality TV producers. So
I
I,
didn't
I,
know that.
I said, yeah. And so I wanted, to control the IP.
That's great.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I did not know that actually,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
reality TV producers don't see residual. None, even to today.
No, even to the day, we don't see residuals.
Yeah.
We truly really don't get benefits. I am in the Producers Guild, and there are programs and things, but the only show that I ever honestly got benefits on was The Bachelor, and that they were Tattoo Network, and honestly, yeah. So I
Wow.
truly have always had to buy into my own benefits because we don't, yeah, and we don't get 401ks. It's like the money that we
Right.
make is the money that we make, and we have to choose then what to do with it after.
Yes. What lessons did Westbrook and The Bachelor and all those, how did that prepare you for podcast producing and running your own company?
Okay, so Westbrook, it prepared me because one, it just showed me like if I'm the creator of developing a whole department of a podcast department, I could do this for myself. And podcast is a low barrier to entry. It is not like TV. I do not have to have a lawyer or an agent to pitch my podcast to these networks. So that I said, I can just go right to the source, cut the middleman out like in TV. Yep. And so I just went right to the source. The unscripted work, reality TV work that I, did, prepared me for the hustle and the drive. I'm a people person. I got connected with a lot of cast members. So when I created Hello Fallon, I really had already unofficially, I was like managing or helping a lot of the cast members after the reality TV shows or while being on it, making connections with either like the host or the talent. And they would be like, hey, Fallon, what do I do after this? A lot of reality shows, you're on it either for a week or 3 months, and then you go back to your regular life. But it's not really regular once millions of people are watching you on TV. And we used to tell them, like, hey, you kind of have to use this to build your brand and as a stepping stone. Most contestants on a show, they're not being paid or they're being paid a small percentage. And they've given up, like, either deferring their being in college, quitting their jobs. They might not have a job to come back to. You know, I heard a lot of, sob stories while being casting, which is why I couldn't do that because it was just I'm a Cancer, like, well, I'm a Sagittarius, but I'm like a Cancer moon. It was just I was internalizing that too much. But what I was good at was helping people and connecting people to other people or telling them, hey, I can help you do this. So I was doing it unofficially, and those type of roles had prepared me to, like, Fallon, do this for yourself. Start an LLC and really do this for yourself. And also, too, when you have an LLC and you make a certain amount of money, you should have an LLC because you can get better tax incentives. So that's just a plug.
That's
Yeah.
true. I was about to
Yeah.
say, would you slip it in there? What advice would you give someone to starting their LLC? I think you just gave one, unless you'd add
Yeah.
anything else.
No, truly, you really should. And also too, yeah, it just it's good to keep your what you have in your personal checking account and what you have in your business. It's good to keep those separately for tax purposes. Yeah, keep them separate.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
So getting into craft, get
Yes.
on your soapbox for a minute. What do
Yes.
people
Okay.
get?
Okay.
What do people get wrong? Absolutely wrong about podcast production.
Oh, interesting. Okay, what do people get wrong? I think people get wrong is that you don't need to have good audio. And people get that wrong is like you do need to have good audio. Like I don't think that like you should just be putting, anything out there. I don't like listening to podcasts that do not have good audio. I think that says something. I think people
So I'm
get
doing
wrong
okay.
that yeah, you're
So I'm doing
doing great. No, you're fantastic. Like even before in the beginning, we talked about this call and you talked about certain platforms that, like you might use to record on. Is learning those platforms, like, the Riversides
yeah,
and I mean, Zoom has gotten better, but
yeah,
like, learning about like the script and recording platforms
yeah.
that you can record on in Zencaster. Like these
Zencaster.
are platforms that yeah, that I had mentioned earlier before we started recording is that like you should know about those platforms. I think people get wrong is like not being connected to the community of podcasters. Like there are people who did this before you, and I think that you should like, connect with them and learn from them. And not yeah, I think that's like a few things that like people should do. I also too I think people get wrong that everybody needs a podcast. But I do feel like if you do want a podcast, I think that you should have a podcast. But I do think it gets wrong that I think what I'll say as a producer is that people think like, oh, because I have such a good chat with my friends, in our Instagram chat or on threads that like I should have a podcast. And it's like, no, because you might not be a good yapper. Like you might not have a strong niche. You just you have a good friend chat. That's like what you have. And I think that that is okay. But I also too think then like get some assistance and come to like a Hello Fallon Entertainment and ask for help. And I think people get that wrong is that they don't ask for help, and you should ask for help because there are people who have spent years in the business like myself who can do it and help you not avoid some mistakes. And so I think that that is true. I also, too, another thing I think people get wrong is, wanting like views, wanting to be the top podcast. But it's like, if everything is low, you got no social media following, you got no community, you got to start somewhere. You can't build from nothing. So just focus on one thing and build that. Like if you need to build up your social media, then just focus on making great social media clips and building that up. I just don't think you can build from nothing when people are like, hey, my podcast isn't making any money. Well, if all three things are low, like your social following, your community is low, your engagement are low, your downloads are low, you haven't attended any podcast festivals to meet or put yourself out there, yeah, that is what you're doing wrong.
Yeah, and that's great because you're coming from being a people person yourself. You were talking about that at the beginning and
Yeah,
how important that is. I'm kind of jumping ahead in my
yeah,
script
jump
here,
ahead.
but like, how do you touched on it? How do you network, or what more would you say to demystify networking, especially if, say, someone isn't,
um,
they don't consider themselves a people person, maybe like you do?
Got it. Okay, so and actually, I like an extroverted introvert. I am a people person, but I think that's just in my nature. But like but I am an extroverted introvert, and so the best way to connect with people is honestly, look, either when you go to an event, is truly ask somebody about themselves before the first thing you ask them is, what do you do? Hi, I really like the shirt that you're wearing. Connect with them on a human based level always makes someone like one lower their guard. Like, oh my God, I really like, I'm wearing rings right now. Oh my God, I really like your ring. Oh, is that personal to you? Like, what? Oh, where are you from? Oh, we bond. We're from the East Coast. Just like, something like that, I think starts. You need to make a human connection with people before you start asking them what do they do and how can they help you. I I'll give an example. I randomly sometimes will just like DM other podcast producers online just because I want to connect with other podcast producers.
Hmm.
And I connected with a young lady. Her name is Ariana. And she produces podcasts. And so we met for tea. And not once, like, we just learned so much about each other. It really wasn't like, I knew that she was a podcast producer, but it wasn't as if I was trying to get anything from her other than to learn about who she was, how she broke into the business, what is she currently looking for, how did she even get out here to LA, because I knew that she wasn't from Los Angeles. And I think that truly makes it easy. People who are anxious, like I said, you can start by just DMing somebody. You don't have to start by like going to an event, and also to take a friend to an event. I like going there with at least one person that I know. A shout
Nice.
out to
Yeah.
my friend. Yeah, Nicole, like we can work a room, but that's because like we go with each other, and then when there's no one to talk to, then we talk to each other. And then since we're so like, yeah, la 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 la, yeah, like people are like, oh, who are these girls? Like,
Yeah.
so take a friend.
I love that so much. Well, you know what? I never know who's watched. So
Yeah.
I know I've told this story before, but it is one that I really like. I when I would work on sets, being a production assistant, I
Oh
don't have
yeah.
it anymore, but one of my favorite shirts was a how do you say it? Los Pollos Hermanos t-shirt. And that was it,
I love Breaking Bad.
Breaking Bad. So people's faces would light up when I'd come, I'd report in, I was just doing my production
Mm.
assistant thing, and they'd see the Chicken Brothers on my chest. And they'd be like, yo, Breaking Bad, right? Gus Fring, right? That's a bad dude, right? Like Giancarlo Esposito, like, and that would just, and I get it, the story I'm telling, I'm already on set, I get
I
it,
love it.
but it's like it would just make people light up. It would just make
Yep.
people light up,
Yep.
and it would also have the same effect when I would just wear it in regular life or
I
something. It's
love
just to
that.
your point, a point of commonality, or like,
Right.
oh, she's got, Omar and Sanaa over her left
Yeah.
shoulder there. Jet Mac, does she like Jet? She likes physical media. Maybe she doesn't
Right.
hate Gina Prince Blythewood. Maybe she worships her.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like, and then you told me before we recorded, yeah, I'm a big Gina Prince Blythewood stan. Like, I love
Yes.
loving basketball and
Love.
just, and that's a great way to connect with people and be yourself. And I love that advice of when you
Hmm.
can go to an event, consider bringing a friend, bring your home girl, whatever, work a
Yeah.
room, do the same things that you just said. Oh, I like your jewelry, nice fade,
Hmm.
whatever, or whatever, or oh, your shirt's, so you're from out of town, whatever. And you just
Yeah.
reconvene later. And then that
Yeah.
energy, everybody else sees like, oh, well, who are these folks? Maybe we should talk to them.
Exactly. Exactly. If you're smiling, if you're happy, if you're just people will come around. Another thing that I actually just started last year with my friend Julio, we hold a virtual co-working session called Sunshine Break. And it's for people who are trying to like break into not, excuse me, and it's for people who are not into like networking. Like this is a safe space. It's entertainment professionals like myself, Julio, who also too is a competition reality TV producer, and we share the latest entertainment headlines. Tell you what's going on in the podcasting space and in the entertainment world, and it's all done virtually. At some point, yes, we might do a live event, but it's one to just build connection and community because like we were tired of working on an island by ourselves. And that is also to the way that we were able to find information, find out who's hiring for, these shows or these podcasts. And if we wanted to like learn something, everybody had different skill sets. We have editors in the room, we have marketers, we have people who have different skill sets that wanted to build community, but also too wanted to offer their services. And so that is how like truly we win. And but all are welcome. And you can just go to my Instagram, Hello Fallon, excuse me, well, Hello Fallon Entertainment or Fallon Jethroe on Instagram, and you can find the link. So yeah, Sunshine Break is what we started.
Wonderful. And yes, guys, don't worry. All the
Mhm.
information's in the description of this video so that you can, of this podcast, so that you can keep up with Fallon and everything and know when the next events and things like that are. She's dropping
Yeah.
gems. So didn't know you are. No, for real. Like I said before
Yeah.
we start, this is selfish for me as well. I'm
I love
learning. I'm learning as well. And this is, I like to use this also as I can prior to moving abroad, a connection.
it. Okay.
In your opinion and experience, how would you say the podcast space, maybe one way for starters, you're like filmmakers need to tap into the podcasting space because of dot, dot, dot. How could it serve them?
Got it. I think filmmakers need to tap into the podcast space. One, um, to help talk and market their projects. That's the best way I would, yeah, for sure. And also too, because what TV shows are doing, I think you take a lesson from that. They have a companion podcast, and your film
Yes.
should have a companion podcast.
Yes, because like so you're jumping ahead. I love it because it's
Oh,
like,
okay. Yeah.
for those who didn't know, one of my favorite jobs was I got to be a production assistant on HBO's Insecure.
Oh, okay.
They had a companion podcast.
Exactly.
I loved NBC's The Good Place, starring Kristen Bell. That was one of the
Yeah.
first companion piece podcasts I ever listened to. She'd be on, some the writers would be on, the showrunner. I think they did one
Yeah.
for Rap Shit, Issa's other show.
They did.
Um,
Insecurities. My friend Matt Rash
Insecurity.
produced it. Yeah.
Your friend produced. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like
Um,
that's exactly, yes, companion podcasts.
Yeah,
Like,
Stranger Things. We talked about Breaking Bad a second ago. Vince Gilligan, I think, has had
yeah,
podcasts for all of his shows.
Paradise, all of
Yeah,
them.
What's say one other reason you think today's filmmakers, be it Hollywood, be it the independent space, here's how the podcasting space can serve your film?
Well, one, it also too, it helps branch you into a different community of people. What I will say is, you'll see a lot of celebrities and stuff have podcasts. Um, but that necessarily doesn't mean that all their podcasts are number one or that people have found them, because that is not particularly like their audience. And so I think if like you want to, as we talked about, like marketing, it's a different audience. Podcasters are a different audience than filmmakers. And so you can introduce your film
Yeah.
to a different audience of people. So.
What's your opinion on how filmmakers could translate their visual storytelling skills into, say, audio podcast content?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Taking your visuals and putting the audio underneath, because also too, all podcasts don't have video. And what YouTube is not like the number one place for people to watch or listen to a podcast. And but some people don't have any video for their podcast. They're just all audio only. So you could take your film and you could put some images behind it, and then there's your podcast. Or you could be talking about a certain scene and you could be describing it for us, and there's your podcast. So
What's a pitfall you hope filmmakers specifically, or people developing a web series or something like that, you're like, no, I didn't
yeah.
know this when I was starting out. I don't want you guys in the visual medium going, whether your podcast is going to strictly audio platform or a mixture of
Hmm.
audio and YouTube or visual. What's a pitfall you want them to avoid so that they can leverage podcasting for their project?
If you're doing something and it's like after, I don't know, 6 months or a year, it's not really like working, or it feels like it's becoming work or strenuous, I think you need to stop. I think you need to stop and take just a step back and like a breather and like reevaluate, um and maybe do something else. But also too, there are thousands of things that you can create for like a filmmaker, and different genres and things that you can do. And now there's like, shorts. None of these things have to be long. I think when you're creating, I guess a good thing that people have 10-minute podcasts, people have 5-minute podcasts, people have 2-hour podcasts, people have 30-minute podcasts. And so I think the thing is just starting and creating and consistency versus not doing anything at all and feeling just so defeated. So that's what I would say. And to your audience who are predominantly filmmakers, is that you don't have to make a 2 or 3 hour Spike Lee Spielberg movie. Like you can make a short
Right.
and put your work out there, and then later, it can become, that long form movie once it gets picked up, or the audience like resonates with it. So there are a lot of things like you just said. Issa Rae, um she did Awkward Black Girl, just
Yeah.
as a YouTube series. And so, yeah, there are things. And also too, don't be worried that like people don't see your content at first. A podcast lives on for a very, very long time. And there is something about like somebody going back and discovering like your podcast like a month later, and then it just like takes off and the views go up, and you're like, wait, what?
Right.
Because yeah, it's discoverability. Everybody, they have to find you first. So, I think still put it out there. Yeah, and still do it.
Did you immediately understand that patience from viewership and discoverability immediately, or did you have to discover it?
No, I recognize that immediately. I think becoming from my background in TV, that people have to find you out. It is, I will admit, it's so frustrating when like you want your show to be like number one, you want to have 1 million downloads like right away. But yeah, it doesn't happen like that. It's a gradual process, and sometimes you won't go viral like immediately, but just understanding that. But sometimes, like, you never know. Like I said, you never know what's going to resonate with someone that you were like, oh, I didn't even think that that was such a good episode. Honestly, sometimes a lot of, even when I was when I'm working in reality TV or even podcasts, I'll say some of like the longest hours that I've spent on set, like 12, 14 hours, or the photo shoot or something was like so difficult. And I'm like, oh God, it was a freaking dumpster fire to do. And then they'll be like, that was the best episode. Like, I love that online. And you're like,
What?
what? Do you even know what we went through? Like, that was
I was
crazy.
this close
Like,
from tendering my resignation,
right.
walking off
I was
set.
fucking upset. Like, I told him I quit.
Peace out.
And you're like, I love this episode. Like, this was so good. Yeah. I'll give an example. An episode that I did for Positively Gam. We, I was like, it was. Gosh, oh God, we
You
were having
can't
like
even
so
talk.
much trouble, so much difficult. Yeah, it was so difficult, but it was so good. It's the episode with Tabitha Brown, and this is before she became like Tabitha Brown and was like who she
Wow.
was. And yeah, we were having so many technical difficulties, but it is like the highest episode, has so many downloads, and I'm just like, wow, like this is great. You don't know. You don't know what the audience is going to be like. Wow, I so enjoyed that. Oh, I so resonated with. Yeah, an episode that I produced on Project Runway. It was the tie-dye episode. It's grunge tie-dye. And I just was like, my showrunner didn't understand it. She was like, I don't get it. Like the tie-dye, but and it was like such a popular episode. So it was literally taking DIY and turning it into high fashion. So I had the
Wow.
designers take tie-dye, which is something, like I said, is DIY, and so either grunge and turn it into high fashion. And Leslie Jones was the guest at the time, and she just like
Wow.
so loved the designers' outfits and loved like everything. But that's an episode that I created and I pitched, and it was like so difficult. Like me and my
Mhm.
AP spent countless hours like learning the methods and learning to how to tie dye and going like to this company and like learning. I forgive me because I forget the company's name, but the man was great, and I hope he still has his company who does textiles.
Nice.
But it's a very, very popular episode now on Project Runway to this day. And that was from my brain. Like, so yeah.
For those who don't know, what does a podcast producer do? Because usually we think about it in terms of TV, in terms of music,
Yeah.
or something like that. But
Yes.
podcasting is so very new. How
Yes.
does that work?
Yeah. So there's definitely different roles, but I'll speak to myself. So I am a creative, uh, uh, I'm an executive producer in podcasting. And so what I do is will creatively ideate what the show will be. So either my talent might have their own idea, or the network when I was working at Westbrook might have their own idea and say like, hey, here's the idea of what our talent wants to do. Can you help produce and turn that into an actual podcast, like an actual show that people want to listen to, that people are tuning in every week? Okay, great. But then I develop the soundscape, I hire the guests, I do paper edits, and get in there and like listen, and I work alongside my editor and help cut the show or edit it down to make it sound good. If there are segments in the podcast, I'll creatively come up what those segments are. So when you hear on a podcast somebody's like, hey, now it's time for Q&A, or now we're going to play this rapid fire game, or coming up with catchy titles for things, or coming up with the title of what the show will be, or developing the idea, that is me. I'm no shortage of ideas. I My ADHD runs wild. But I also too, how I find said creative ideas is I watch a lot of television. I watch a lot of movies. I go outside and I touch the grass. I go to, yes, exactly. I don't just stay in. I touch the grass and
Get
I
the
love to
sunshine
travel.
you were talking about earlier.
Get the sunshine. Exactly. I get the sunshine. I listen to the news. So me as a creative producer, I am creatively crafting what the show will be in its final production of when it finally gets to an audience. That is my role as an executive producer in podcasting. That's what I do. Yeah.
Now, if you don't have one, if you're just starting out, what's maybe one or two basic things from the mindset
Yeah.
of a producer? You gave some good hints about like technology earlier. So if you're just starting out,
Yes.
how can
Yes.
one approach it starting out from a producer mindset? A couple of things for ideation and
Yes.
whatnot.
Got it. So I think a few ways that like one can start out is writing down um what are you passionate about, and like I said, what can you talk about if you had to do your podcast for multiple episodes. That what I would say was is one. Two, if you want to have a friend or a co-host,
Yeah.
I think look at that. If you are an introvert and you're a person who's not comfortable reaching out to people, then maybe you do want to have a co-host, so then you don't have to do all this reach out to have guests to have your podcast. So that is something that I would say. And then two is to get a microphone, pick up your phone, and because your phone can be video camera, and start recording and putting it out. I also too recommend apps like Descript. Which is great for editing and doing like these type of video style chats now to help get your podcast out there. Looking at creating an RSS feed or a YouTube channel. There is Spotify for Creators, which is
Yep.
free. There are also other platforms like Acast and Listspin that you can also put your podcast on. I mean, I think you can even put your podcast now on Apple Podcasts as
Yep.
well. Or if you want to start making money immediately, if you have a podcast and you're like, hey, I don't want to wait. Uh, YouTube is great. There are some terms and conditions. I'll let people go and look and discover that because I think you have to have like 1,000 followers. Um, there's also to Patreon. You can, have your community and people who discover you start paying for your podcast immediately in order to just listen and get the interviews. So.
For those who don't know, what's an RSS feed?
Yeah, so an RSS feed is how you're able to broadcast your podcast out to different platforms. When you see people's podcasts on like a Spotify or an Apple, they're taking as Josiah and I mentioned, Spotify for Creators, and they're putting on that platform, and that will generate your podcast out to all those different platforms. So you individually do not have to do that. So that helps it's basically like a broadcast. It's broadcasting your podcast out into the ether.
How do you see podcasting and film and TV intersecting next decade or so?
Wow. Okay. So I think it's kind of already happening, but like I said, with the companion podcasts,
Mm-hmm.
I think we're going to see more of networks as we already see it now, like Netflix having podcasts. Like there's a playlist that we see. So I think there will be more of that because a lot of people are coming for YouTube and Netflix is definitely coming for them. So I think
Yeah.
Netflix next thing will be they'll probably start putting music on there. You'll probably be able to like listen to music at some point. The
Wow.
world's colliding. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think Netflix like you will be the central hub. I think they're doing it now because I think Netflix announced, oh hey, we're looking for a said host. I think Netflix is going to start to have they have it now, but a lot more companion podcasts. It's kind of like HBO Max does. It's like stay after and listen to the podcast. I think Netflix will really start to integrate that into the fold because that's like a lot of brand and marketing dollars for them. So I think that will be like the latest thing. Um, Honestly, I look at podcasts coming from the TV world as literally like a mini TV show, or as I mean,
Yeah.
so I think it's all basically like in a circle. I mean, now we have like the short micro dramas and things, but I do think more of these platforms are going to start having podcasts on them. As we see podcasts now, they're have the Academy Awards. I think podcasts will be probably at the Oscars. I think more celebrities are going to get into this. Oh, well, you know what? More brands are going to start to just do their own podcast. It will probably be a podcast
Ah,
in Canva or something. Brands are going to be like, you know what? We're going to have a podcast so one we can just talk about our brand. Like if you had an idea to create a podcast and you were looking for the sign to, start, like this is your sign. You've listened to us talk. This is your sign. Just create it.
what is 2026 looking like for Hello Fallon Entertainment and additional ventures?
Yeah. So for Hello Fallon is looking like I said, we want to sign more athletes to the project, WNBA players or high school or college players. That's what we're looking to do. And then also too, we're just looking to create more podcasts with people and develop more original podcasts over at Hello Fallon Entertainment. And so that's what we're looking for. More so, really, I'm just looking, like I said, to build community. I have Sunshine Break is a virtual community. You can just find it on my social media and just connect with more people and really and just enjoy and create content. Really, that's pretty much it. Is I want to produce the content that I want to see. So.
Fantastic. Guys, I hope you all enjoyed this discussion with Fallon Jethroe. I learned a lot. I hope you did too. Let us know what was your biggest takeaway in the comments. Please revisit the description of this podcast because, again, you can keep up with Fallon, get connected and everything, learn more, perhaps even collaborate and work together. You heard everything that she's got planned and looking forward to for 2026. You can find all that information in the description of the podcast episode. Thank you to all you guys. Thank you to the patrons. Thank you for everyone supporting on Substack. Fallon, again, this was awesome and all the best in 2026. Thanks so very
Oh,
much.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Josiah. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
You're welcome.